Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
We are continuing our series on misunderstood Quranic verses, and the verse that we're looking at today is from chapter 6. It's verse 153. It goes like this. This is my straight path. Follow it and do not follow any other way, because it will cause you to deviate. This is what he commands you so that you will be mindful of him. So this seems like a very straightforward verse, Dr. Shabir. What's so misunderstood about it?
Yes, I must confess that I myself had misunderstood this for a long time.
Really?
And
okay.
It's a verse that is used a lot in sermons, especially if the sermonizer wants to say there is one straight path, every other thing is deviated. And one might cite in this, in connection with this, a hadith in which it is mentioned that the Prophet, peace be upon him, drew a line in the sand, and then he drew other lines beside it. And he wanted to indicate that this one line in the middle, that is his path, and all of the others are deviations. So you should follow just that one path, the path of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And in that case, it seems to indicate that we're talking here about what is generally referred to among Sunnis as the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So whereas in the context here, the passage is really talking about the Islamic or the Quranic version of the Ten Commandments, which has just preceded in the previous two verses.
Yes, like do not murder and things like this,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Starting with the expression of Tawheed, do not have any other than God, be good to your parents, which we know from the Ten Commandments, and also like do not give false testimony, which is part of the Ten Commandments, do not commit murder, do not be short in giving people their full measure, and so on. All about truth and fairness and justice, duty to God, duty to God's creatures, and then it says وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا فَاتَّبِعُوهُ, and that is the my straight path. It's obviously referring to the path of God,
yes,
which was mentioned in a previous verse in the same surah. Basically, the right path is to stick to these commandments and not deviate from these commandments. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ, and do not go off on tangents, because that will just be a deviation from the path of God. ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Thus, God gives you this legacy so that you may be aware of God. You may retain your awareness of God. Of course, that legacy comes through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Without him, we wouldn't have the revelation of God. It didn't just simply drop out of the skies as a book to be read. It's put into the mind of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who then broadcast it to us. And he demonstrated in his life how to live according to these commandments. So all of that is granted. But this verse is not meant to be used as a
warning against dividing
against
into
sectarianism.
sects?
Exactly.
Okay. So who has done that and why?
Well, over time, after the Prophet, peace be upon him, passed away, Muslims started to have varying opinions about things. They've always had varying opinions, but in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he was the central figure, and everybody would rally to him. So the community was unified, except for those clear deviants who, were clearly separated from the Muslim community. But after the Prophet, peace be upon him, passed away, within the unified Muslim community, you have various opinions. And then some of the opinions come to be castigated as so outlandish that the people of those opinions really need to be labeled as something else, and the sects come to be identified. And in that sectarian milieu, people started to each justify their own beliefs and their own sectarian tendencies, but castigating the others. And then they would look for support for their own group by calling on certain verses of the Quran and on hadiths, sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And if there wasn't a suitable saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him, they could invent one for themselves and champion that as the saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And so we should be wary of this sectarian tendency. It's a later tendency, and it's unlikely that this was actually spoken about by the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the great detail as we see in some of the narratives. Because if the Prophet, peace be upon him, spoke about it like that, then it's hard to see how the sects would arise in the first place. It's more likely that the sects arose and then people wanted to condemn some and champion one, which they said is the way of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And then they invented the sayings to justify that. And they also called on verses of the Quran, which had nothing to do with sectarianism, but it had to do, of course, you can say indirectly, because if we hold on to the way of the Prophet, peace be upon him, if we hold on to the verses of the Quran, we would not be divided. It's another statement of the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on to the rope of God all together and do not be divided among yourselves. And it's easy to understand that the rope of God here is the Quran, which God has let down, as our lifeline from heaven. And Hadith even says that Hablullah al-Mateen wal Quran, the Quran is the strong rope of God. So here, in a minuscule form, a part of the Quran, a very important part that delineates the most important commandments, 10 if we think of this being parallel to the biblical 10 commandments, then this core teaching is what we have to grab onto. Otherwise, we are going to be deviated. And that's the point of this verse in question. So to use this as I've done in my youthful days to say, okay, there's one path, the path of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and all these other paths are deviant paths. That's not what was meant by the verse. One could use it to a certain extent to call all Muslims to say, let's hold on to the way of the Prophet, peace be upon him. But the verse itself does not give credence to one particular sect over another, so long as all of these sects hold to the same teachings and principles which are there in the Quran as a whole, and from the point of view of this verse, what has just preceded it in terms of those 10 commandments.
So just to clarify, Dr. Shabir, you think that this verse is definitely referring to Muslims, though?
Well,
it's
yes.
not referring to anybody who worships one God?
Well, and now I have to think about that question, Sophia, and that can be the subject of another
tangent.
discourse.
Right.
Yes, another
Thank
discourse.
you for that, Dr.
Okay, welcome.
Assalamu
alaikum.
Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiya and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.